So guys, welcome back. This has been a long time coming. Obviously, I've not done one of these in probably nearly since February 2019, so this is quite a new thing to actually get back on live stream. It's great to see some guys in the chat already. This is going to be something a little different. I'll probably try and do these maybe every couple of weeks. I want to try and get as many people on here as I possibly can, because if you followed the channel before, you know I'm all about giving people a platform and trying to hear as many different kind of ideas on how the lifestyles and what's best for each person. But like I always say to people, do what works best for you. That's always what I'm always about. Andy's in the chat. Great to see Andy here. David Ryan. Rosie May. So yeah, Gareth and Christine's in the chat as well. I'm probably going to try and make some. Gareth and Christine I've actually got down as moderators. I think try to get some guys in as moderators as well. So if anybody wants to be a moderator, I've just added Andy as a moderator. I need to get some guys in as moderators. So try and kind of keep up as well if you can. So what I want to actually come on here today is I've actually got Bart Kay coming on. I don't think we need any introduction to who Bart is. Yeah, everybody knows Bart. Like I say, you all know what he's all about. He's obviously a 20-year academic in nutrition science, obviously cardiophysiology, you know the whole score. So we're going to come on here and talk a little bit about what's went on in YouTube recently. Obviously, you know, Bart has actually moved over to another platform, so you'll find all his links down in the description below. If you can please go and obviously support him as well, because YouTube, as we all know, has been a lot shadow banning a lot of people, and it's quite disgusting, like I say, but we've got to try and kind of support each other and get the message out as best as we can, guys, because they're just stifling small channels as well, and it's really no use. So yeah, what I'm going to actually do is I just wanted to come on here and give you a little bit of update about how things are going with myself first. Obviously, you know, I've been obviously in recovery for quite a while now. I'm actually doing probably the best I've ever done. I feel absolutely like about 20 years younger, actually, because I was just out at my physiotherapist, or I should say massage therapist. I go for sports therapy, so she's working on the torn bicep and the torn tricep that I'm actually suffering with at the moment. I'm trying to actually recover from that, and obviously my knee injury that I actually suffered around about 2 years ago when I was actually vegan as well. So doing really, really well with that. I feel as if everything's coming on really, really well. Feeling probably the best I've ever felt, but like I always say, do what's best for you guys, because that's what I'm trying to tell people. Like I say, don't be dogmatic about it. At the end of the day, we're trying to help people here, and this is what the channel is all about. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually send the link to Bart, and we'll actually get him on. I'm going to share a little bit about how he actually has moved over to Odysee, I do believe it is, and what's kind of led him to that as well. So yeah, I'll get this in the chat. This is just something kind of new to me, so bear with me on this, guys. First I've done like kind of live streaming in ages. So yeah, so who else is in the chat at the moment? So we've got sorry guys if I'm staying quiet here, I'm just sending Bart the link at the moment. That should be it with Bart. So if you can as well, guys, this is actually live on Facebook as well. So if you can try and share the stream about, get as many people in, because it's obviously short notice, so I don't know how many people is actually going to join. But if we can keep growing it from here, that'll be really, really good, because this is what we're all trying to do here. We're trying to get the message out as best we can. So we've actually got Christine's in the chat here. Hi, Christine. What about me, Rosie May? Yeah, we know you're here. Love you, Laura. I do believe in Eileen. Much love, Eileen. She's in the chat. Laura's want to be a moderator, she says, right? So if I can actually get the chat to work. How you doing?
I'm all right and sound. How are you, Tommy?
Yeah, doing not too bad. Feeling better after my physiotherapy and things like that this afternoon. So that's kind of made a bit of a difference.
It's all good, all good. So, how's things been going at your place?
Yeah, well, as good as it can possibly go. Like I say, my wife's obviously had a bit of issues, as you know, recently as well. So she's trying to get through them, but everything's going great. I'm probably feeling the best I've ever felt, really.
Awesome, awesome, cool. All right. So, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. It's good to be doing live streaming because I haven't done that for a bit myself.
Yeah, I'm totally new to this myself.
It's also really good to see some familiar faces in the chat
absolutely.
there. Bo, good to see you. Tinks, good to see you. You know, a bunch of others there that are sort of recidivist offenders from my channel. Good to see you.
Just woke up. It's 7 p.m. here, so I've certainly not just woke up. That's for sure.
No, all right. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning for some ridiculous reason myself. I don't know why.
Right. Well, I was kind of the same last night. I was like, I must have been up about 20 times for a pee. It was absolutely nonsense.
Yeah, no good at all. No good.
So what's obviously been going on? Like, I know you've obviously moved platforms and things like that, and it's kind of been the same in my channel. I must admit, I've noticed probably since about September last year, I've been kind of, again, like a few hundred subscribers. I seem to lose a few hundred subscribers. The view count seems to go all over the place. People's comments have been removed. I think there's not enough people actually speaking about this, and why they're not speaking about it, I don't really know.
Yeah. Let me run through it in terms of the kind of the history of the development, I guess, of the situation. Basically, there's a thing going on all over YouTube, all over the big tech, the big tech channels, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, Google. All of them are complicit. They are all involved in this carry on. So for me, it started most notably probably about 12 months ago when it started to get really, really bad.
Yeah.
And what YouTube do is it starts in a clandestine fashion. It starts. It's more subversive rather than overt. So what happens is a lot of people don't realize that your subscriber count on your YouTube channel bears no resemblance to your actual number of people who have clicked that button to say, I want to subscribe to that channel. No relationship at all. Okay. The number that you see there is an AI generated estimate. And it's actually not even an estimate of how many people really genuinely have said, I want to subscribe to this channel. It is a marker of your good standing with the fine folks at YouTube. And it says, how well does this character subscribe to the narrative that we want promoted?
Yeah.
How much does this guy say what we want him to say? And how much does this guy say things other than that? And the more you say things that are not in line with the narrative they want to promote, the harder they push down on that subscriber number, which affects every other metric on YouTube as well. Having done that, the next thing they start doing is they start demonetizing every single video you post to YouTube as a matter of course, which you then have to appeal and say, you've got it wrong, YouTube. There's no reason this video should be demonetized.
Yeah.
And every time every time they get back to you within a few days and say, "Oh, yes, we got it wrong," and they reverse the decision and they remove the banning of that video for monetization. However, by the time they've done that, they have killed that video's momentum stone dead, because the algorithm that promotes or demotes videos on YouTube will not promote a video that is not monetized. So they demonetize you to stop the video getting seen with no cause for having done so whatsoever. And then you go appeal and they turn it around 3 days later, by which time your video is dead in the water. So it stops your video getting views. It stops you earning money. It stops you garnering further support for your channel. It's an overt means of directly controlling your viewer numbers. Then, if that's not enough, the next thing they do is they start limiting the number of nodes available for people to watch a live stream when you are live streaming. And once that number of nodes is full of people watching that stream, what they then do is block everybody else out, and they get buffering, can't watch the stream. And it's not to do with resources. It's because they have, of course they won't admit this, but they have limited the number of people who are allowed to watch your live stream.
I think I remember actually Tristan talking about that. There was quite a lot of people that was actually clicking on his video, and they seemed to like go to other channels and the videos were playing absolutely fine. Yet when they go to his channel, it was buffering constantly.
Exactly. Yeah. So Tristan is one of those who is heavily shadow banned because he is, like me, one of these people who is prepared to speak his mind and tell the truth as he sees it, which of course is his God-given right. And it's also enshrined in the Constitution of the United States, which is the country in which YouTube is based. Google.
I think it's really important to speak your mind, as long as you're not like slandering people and things like that. That's where the kind of line draws, you know what I mean? Yeah.
For me, I agree with you absolutely, Tommy, and we both know who we're talking about there, don't we? Who should who should basically shut her hole before she ends up in front of a judge, because it will happen at some point. She will cross a line whereby somebody will be prepared to spend the money to start a lawsuit. There are laws about what you can and cannot say about somebody else, about people. I'm not suggesting that free speech in any way subverts the right of people not to be slandered or not to be lied about or not, or not to be misrepresented. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if somebody has an opinion on a given topic that is debatable, that topic should be able to be debated, basically. And as it stands, the fine folk at Google are not allowing debate. They are actively, aggressively censoring anyone who dissents from the narrative that they have aligned themselves with, most notably that of the World Health Organization at the moment, but we'll get to that at the end of this series of events that leads to me going to YouTube. Nah, we're not doing this anymore. Anywho, the next thing that happens is YouTube start actively, unilaterally unsubscribing people from your channel. It's not them hitting unsubscribe. YouTube is unsubscribing them automatically without their say-so and without their permission, and even without telling them that they've done it.
I actually remember that. Actually, I've heard quite a few channels that had actually got like channel memberships and things like that, and even the channel members were actually being removed for their YouTube channel, even though they were paying monthly.
That was my next point. Yeah, that's what happens next. They start unsubscribing your channel members who have given YouTube their credit card number and said, I want to pay a monthly subscription to that channel. I want to be a member of that channel. YouTube will take their money and then unsubscribe them anyway. Wow. Unbelievable. So it gets to a point where it's not even disguised. It's not even hidden. And of course, Google/YouTube is a faceless corporation. There is no human being that you can phone up and say, I'm having a problem here with your systems. The AI's gone crazy or whatever, because they know damn well what's going on, and it's with malice.
Basically just bots.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's absolutely bots and AI and algorithms, and it's all automatic. Even when you do, I'd like to challenge your decision, that's handled by a bot as well, not a person.
Actually, I actually remember that the video that I've got, it's like my most rated video on this channel, which was like 40K. That was basically all about my eating disorder. They actually changed that to a 16 to 18 age rating, and it was basically blocked at one point, and then they removed it. I got it back, but there's people constantly commenting on it, and there's been like thousands of views, yet it stayed at 40K. It's this. Yeah. It's not possible.
Exactly. Look, I did an experiment about a month or two ago, Tommy, where I went online on my channel and I asked my channel members to do a certain series of little tasks for me. Here's what I asked them to do. So I said, start another profile on Google with a completely separate Gmail account. It's not linked to your other Gmail account. Sign up for YouTube under that new account that's not connected to your first account, completely separate. Subscribe that to my channel here as a new subscriber. Put a comment under my video saying how much you enjoyed the video and that I've won your subscription, etc., because that's good for the algorithms, etc.
Yeah.
And let's watch my hitherto absolutely stuck subscription number for the last 6 months prior to that, because I had the gall to make comments about that virus and global warming and other aspects of health not related to the agenda being pushed by the fine folk at Google/YouTube around Agenda 21. So they've been slamming me. So I thought, okay, well, let's do this. Let's do an experiment and see whether I'm deluding myself here and whether people really are just sick of my shit and don't want to watch my channel anymore. Well, anyway, I got in response over 1,000 emails from people saying, done, here is my new account details. I have subscribed to your channel. I left a comment, blah, 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 blah. I ticked like, I did everything on that list of things to do. Guess what happened to my subscribe account? Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, what's been happening for the last 7, 8 months, 9 months even, it's been since March, around about when shit hit the fan with this particular virus issue. 4, 5, 6 people subscribed to the channel. The same day, 4, 5, 6, 7 people unsubscribed to the channel, even though those people don't know they've unsubscribed.
Exactly the same thing here.
50 people subscribe, 50 people unsubscribe, 1,000 people subscribe, 1,000 people unsubscribe.
It's basically to keep it on the level constantly.
Correct. In other words, we are not going to allow you to grow. So that's the kind of nonsense that YouTube/Google have been involved in, without question. Absolutely. They've been caught red-handed and they do not care a jot. They answer to nobody. There's nobody to speak to, as I said, even at the company. Until you have something like, I think it's 100,000 subscribers, you don't get even a contact human being that you can even email, let alone phone up and say, what the hell's going on here, sort of thing.
Yeah, because I've heard the 100,000 kind of subscriber channels, they've got a Google representative that they can actually get through to, but that doesn't seem to exist for anybody.
They've got a representative. That doesn't mean they can get through to that person. It means they get
that's true.
Yeah. So, and even if they can get through to that person is a representative of faceless corporate that says, computer says no. Computer says no. Beep beep boop 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 boop.
Usual.
Get yourself to fuck stuff.
You're gaslighting.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Of course, the thing that we do need to say here, Tommy, and we do need to make very, very clear is that none of what I'm saying here is backed up with any kind of evidence. It's just anecdotes. That's all we've got here is anecdotes. We've got no actual evidence. Just anecdotes. That's all we've got, you see.
This is the thing that gets me, right? Like when they say that about anecdotes, but in the real world, really, anecdotes is all you have, because it doesn't give a shit what science actually says. If something doesn't work for you in the real world, your anecdote's all you've got.
That's it. Yeah. And it's always funny to me that people say science says such and such. Studies show, they say. Studies don't say or show anything. Studies provide us with empirical outputs.
Yeah. They can't decipher between correlation and causation. It's like there's no in between there.
Yeah. So craziness. Anyway, longer story short, all of this crap's been going on for, as I say, about a year, but 9 months or so, most overtly, most aggressively, whereby YouTube have crushed down my channel. They've crushed down my income. They've crushed down my ability to grow and to advance and to get my message out there. The straws that broke the camel's back last week were two things. First of all, a lot of people might remember I had a discussion on my Discord channel with one Avi Bitterman a few months back, where he invited himself onto my Discord channel, onto a voice chat sub channel that we were all on, having a chat amongst ourselves. And he was challenging me, or had been challenging me, to what he's calling a debate for a couple of weeks prior to that. And there was some backwards and forwards with videos between him and I, him challenging me responding to his challenge, him responding to my response, where he sat around with a stupid, brainless child called Isaac Brown for hours and hours on end and pontificated, and they fluffed each other, and basically it was a circle jerk of immense proportions. And basically Isaac Brown is a pseudo-intellectual, but he's actually a child with a spotty face living in his parents' basement sort of thing. And Avi Bitterman is not much better, frankly, except that he thinks he's God's gift to whatever else because he holds a medical degree. As a dermatologist, as it turns out, nothing to do with cardiovascular health at all. And he was challenging me to a debate on cardiovascular pathophysiology, the very thing that I used to be a senior lecturer in. So absolutely my area of expertise, not his. And he also wanted to try and run that discussion by muddying the waters. He wanted to have an unlimited number of references that he could bring to the table. So basically he wanted to cite citations at me without actually looking at any of them. And I said, well, no, actually, because it's you, Avi, that has said in your moot that you have proposed that LDL cholesterol is causal in heart disease, and I'm here to tell you it's not. You're wrong. You will lose this debate. You cannot win that. If it were true, you should be able to point to one piece of evidence that it is so. One reference is all you need. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to be really, really generous. I'm going to give you 5, because we need to actually analyze these things, and that's going to take about an hour in discussion. Secondly, don't call it a debate, because that's not a debate. That's a discussion about some literature that you want to bring to the table. You bring me 5 papers and I'll tear them to pieces for you, because LDL cholesterol does not cause heart disease. End of discussion, period. And he got his knickers in a twist, because he took that as a refusal to engage it. And I said, well, I'm not refusing to engage you. I'm just saying under these conditions, I'll absolutely engage that discussion. But under the conditions that you've put forward, no, I'm not interested in that whatsoever, because he's known for this particular behavior, basically. So anyway, he came onto my Discord channel and started trying the same crap again. And I basically spanked the boy to within an inch of his life. I absolutely, completely dominated him both in terms of what was said and also my attitude towards him. I treated him like an insolent child that was just about to get caned, physically corporal punishment, and he took it and doffed his cap and said, "Thank you, sir, thank you, sir, thank you, sir," basically. Anyway, that occurred on my Discord channel. It was recorded in audio format because it was a voice channel. There was no video, whatever else. I posted the copy of the audio recording that was given to me by one of my people who recorded it with my permission to do so. And I kept it back a bit. I eventually posted it on my YouTube channel a few weeks later. Avi recorded a copy of the discussion as well, which he did not have my permission to do, by the way, but whatever, he did it.
Yeah.
He posted his copy of the audio recording onto his YouTube channel. He posted his onto his YouTube channel before I posted my copy onto my YouTube channel. Then he issued a copyright strike against my video. That's not his intellectual property. No, that's not his copyright. If anything, the copyright belongs to me because it happened on my YouTube channel at my behest.
Yeah.
Actually, and that was my intellectual property. If anything, given that he was legally allowed to record it under the one-person consent law in the state that he lives in the States, then it's joint ownership. I've never issued a strike against his copy of it, but he's and YouTube have taken his side on that, and there's no one to talk to about it. So for me, that was number one of the straws that break the camel's back. That is actually that will be going to court, that one, basically, because that's not okay. That's not remotely okay. And I am going to sue the absolute ass off YouTube and also off AV Bitumen, because that is fraud. That is theft of intellectual property. That's not okay. My lawyer agrees, and papers are being prepared. So that's going to be happening soon. Watch out for that.
I was going to say though, see with YouTube, how is that going to work? Because my concern with that is that YouTube's probably get the best lawyers kind of out there, and I don't know. It's like I don't know how you would probably.
Well, the advice I have at the moment is that it's worth pursuing, and as long as that advice remains as is, the instruction that I've given my American lawyer is to proceed.
Right.
So that'll be happening, and I will be looking for exemplary damages, both from YouTube and from RV Bitumen. If anything changes and I decide not to go ahead with that, it will be on the advice of counsel. But as it is at the moment, counsel advises me that I have a case and it's worth pursuing. So that's what I'll be doing. Right. So that was step one. The final thing, the thing that absolutely broke the camel's back, and I said, right, that's it. I am done with YouTube. I am leaving YouTube. I'm going to Odysee. Mm-hmm. There it is there. That's my Odysee address. So if you, I think you've put that under the description anyway, Tommy.
Yeah.
And people can just click on that directly if you don't want to type all of that out, and that will take you directly to my Odysee/library offerings, and you can subscribe there, follow me there. That's where I will be repositing my fine material from this point forward. I know there are some problems with the library system. I know it's not perfect. I know there are buffering. There are buffering issues, absolutely. However, there are things you can do to help. Number one, the way the library/Odysee system works is that it is a decentralized, distributed blockchain system whereby your material is hosted not on any given server somewhere in a building that's under the control of some corporate, but actually out there in the interwebs world on people's computers, bits and bobs of it here and there, and that's how it works. Mm-hmm. So when you press play on the player, the app has to find all those chunks, and there are multiple redundant copies of the various chunks everywhere, obviously, but it needs to find at least one of all the chunks, put them together, stream the thing and get it to you that way. So it's kind of chunky. So to make it actually work better, the things that you can do to help are, number one, become a verified user of Odysee /library. You can join as you can watch but not verify yourself.
Right.
It helps if you're a verified user for several reasons. Number one, they will give you some library credits for being verified. Now you can just use a Google account actually to verify yourself, to verify your identity, whatever. Those credits you can use to support your favorite channel. And the way that visibility works and rankings work on the library Odysee system is purely on money underpinning that channel or those videos. So when you support, when you tip, that directly, causally makes that channel, those videos rise up the list. There are no algorithms, there are no bad bald man, there are no he's not saying the right thing, he's not following our narrative. It works on money. The more money underneath your channel, the more visibility you get. End of discussion, irrespective of what you're saying. So long as what you're saying is within the law. You can't go on library and say,
obviously, yeah,
white people are superior and, you know, or any of that kind of hate speech stuff.
So it's basically a level playing field, basically.
Yeah, it is. But there are some technical issues, as I say. So number one, become a verified user of Odysee. Number two, support my fine channel by way of tipping my stuff with the free library credits they'll give you. You can buy library credits if you want to as well with actual money, and you can use that to support my channel if you'd like to. The other thing that you can do without spending any money or credits is you can do what's called repost on the Odysee library system. It's much like the Facebook system where you see something you like, you can just repost it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with people's videos. All the view credits still go to the original video. All the money still goes to the original video owner. But what that actually does is it seeds that video more so out there in the ether, and it means that when someone presses play, it's easier for library to find it and put it together, and the thing won't buffer so much. So please repost all my videos to your library channel. That will really, really help. Appreciate that.
I think that's what needs to happen with like anybody you support on, even on YouTube, anything. Like if you want them to exist and you enjoy their content, try and obviously share their channel about, because if you don't, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's not everybody's here to actually make money about it. I'm certainly not. I do it obviously for a different reason, but at the same time, you want your message to get out and somebody to see it. You know what I mean? There's no point.
That's it. They're right. Yeah. The other thing you can do if you're really having trouble with buffering is you can actually use the library app, and that will allow you to download the video to your PC, and then you can watch it after that. So if you don't want to sit there and wait for it to buffer, download the thing and then watch it, and then repost it to your channel. So that, you know, others don't have to do what you've had to do. Anyway, that'll come right as the channel grows and as the reposting happens, as the seeding occurs. As it is, I have so far in about a week, I've managed to get roughly 10% of my reported YouTube subscriber base across the library in terms of, so it's a start. I'd like more people to come, and I'd like some of Tommy's people to understand that it's really important that free speech is supported, and that you do support creators that are prepared to stick their neck out and tell the truth to you. You don't have to agree with everything I say, unless you're on my channel, in which case, if you disagree with me, that is what actually on my channel, that's the rules. You can't disagree with me there, because that is deemed to be hate speech. So that's not acceptable. But anyway, yeah, whatever. So that's the bump on what you can do to help out with the library thing. Anyway, the final straw that broke the camel's back was a video I posted to YouTube last week, which YouTube, in their infinite lack of wisdom, decided to take down. Now, that video, for those that are interested, is still available, of course, on library, because library does not play censor. Library does not imagine itself to be the arbiter of truth, justice, or the American way. Library will comply with any legal takedown if somebody, you know, posts a video that is illegal, or, you know, they will take that down. Otherwise, free speech is the go. And there is nothing illegal in the video I posted. And in fact, the video I posted was a position statement. It was the position statement of the Meat Militia. The Meat Militia, for those that don't know, is an organization that I head up. I am the Field Marshal of the Meat Militia, and what we basically do is talk to people about the appropriate species-specific diet for human beings, and we do it in a bit of a jovial sort of a way, and I put on a military uniform for a bit of a laugh, and we take the piss out of people, and it's fine. But we're not indulging in hate speech there. We're not breaking any laws. We're not saying anything that isn't actually fundamentally true and empirically supportable with actual good science. Anyway, so I posted a position statement on COVID-19 in which I made 5 statements of empirical fact as established by the data that the scientists currently have to hand. Irrefutable, unquestionable facts. YouTube took the video down and said I'm breaching their terms and conditions because they don't even say because. They just say it's to do with what they're calling misinformation, which translates to stuff that's not in line with the narrative that they've aligned themselves with, that's being put forward by the World Health Organization. When in fact, actually, I gave no advice of any kind. I made 5 statements of fact underpinned by empirical scientific evidence.
So they're basically trying to make you out as a COVID denier, which for anybody in the chat, you certainly aren't a COVID denier. We've actually discussed that on our last stream with Veganica, because she was under that assumption as well, that you were basically a COVID denier, which isn't the fact at all.
Yeah. See, the thing is, as soon as you label somebody a denier of anything, actually, if you say you're a climate change denier, or you're a COVID denier, or any of those, you use that word denier, what you are actually inferring is that that person is aligned with the Nazis. That's a word that is used, that's been used because, you know, it's a word that was used for people who used to run around and deny that the Nazis were engaged in the activities that they were engaged in with regard to genocide, basically.
Right.
And so what the person is there doing is, on purpose, with malice aforethought, they are trying to engender a hatred for you personally by using the word denier, and then appending it to something that there is some kind of consensus belief about, be that consensus correct or otherwise. For example, climate change, the cause of climate change, or what is happening, what is the prognosis with COVID-19, what do we understand, what do we know, what do we not know, what do we still need to find out, etc., etc., etc. But as soon as you say anything that...
I was just going to say, it's basically the same technique that the vegans are kind of using when they label you an anti-vegan type thing. It's basically just that. Yeah.
So they're taking the moral high ground and assuming that they are in the right and that you are in the wrong. How dare you question the narrative? And we're going to use a word denier to make everybody else want to hate you because you're a bad, bad man. How could you question this? Do you want people to die? No, I want people to get on with their lives because that's what's indicated. And that applies to both
that's what
the COVID
want,
situation and the climate change. Yeah, exactly. We want what's best for people. I'm not a bad man. I don't want people to die, but people are going to, for one reason or another. And they're not going to stop dying just because I think dying is horrible and people shouldn't do it. That's a decision made above my station, really. There's always going to be something causing people to die in various numbers. And our response to that should be in line with the threat that is posed by the particular thing that we're talking about, be that climate change or be that the COVID pandemic. There is no pandemic, by the way. There's just a virus that is a perfectly normal thing that is not particularly any threat to our society at large. There are a very small number of people who are susceptible to mortality as a direct result of this particular virus. And actually, as it turns out, Tommy, most of those people have already succumbed in the first wave. And I think you'll find that those people being dead are unlikely to die again when the next...
That's it. And I think as well, they're not kind of looking at the underlying conditions that a lot of people have as well, because I think there's been a recent kind of study that came out that it's basically affecting a lot of people that's in the kind of obesity range and things like that as well. And I've obviously talked about one of my friends actually died with it. He was 39 years old. He was fully healthy, but at the same time, he was working over in Dubai. He come back, he took no well. They said that it basically perforated his lungs and things like that. But we don't know actually what was going on in between that. It's an absolute shame.
Do you know, Tommy? Was he intubated? Was he put on a respirator?
No, basically the reason for that was because he actually delayed going into hospital. His wife actually wanted to phone the ambulance when he actually took really no well, and he basically couldn't breathe. He was actually holding his chest and things like that. He went to bed and he told his wife, wait a few days and I'll see if I'm okay. Then if I'm still feeling bad, I'll go ahead and get the hospital or the doctor involved, because he believed that there was people worse off than himself. But by the time they got him to hospital, it was basically too late.
Yeah. Okay. It's a tragic story. It's sad to hear about, and for those who do take seriously unwell, for goodness sake, seek the appropriate care at the appropriate time. Don't delay. That's what the NHS is for. Don't be a stoic, I guess. And that's one of the things why the current narrative around the COVID thing is actually so damaging, because if you tell the general public that the NHS is overflowing, then people are going to say, well, I'll hold off because I'm not that bad. At no stage has the NHS been overflowing or been beyond its capacity to respond. The data does not support that false misinformation, that lie.
Yeah, I certainly know the hospital near me, anytime I've been there, it's been absolutely dead. But whether that's just certain areas, I don't know. But I'm just saying, for the hospitals I've been at, and I've been at quite a few, every one of them has been absolutely desolate. Yeah.
The only time that any particular part of the NHS has been put under any real kind of stress at all is early on in this pandemic, when, as a matter of course, they were putting everybody with severe acute respiratory distress on a ventilator. And so there were only so many ventilators in the UK, for example. And they were starting to panic because, we're putting everybody on a respirator and we're out of it. As it turns out, the respirator was completely medically contraindicated for those people. In fact, it killed a lot of them because it was not the correct treatment. It was contraindicated. They got it wrong. And they're not admitting that, of course, at least not with enough force and veracity to make people understand we fucked up here by putting these people on respirators. But in terms of beds, in terms of staffing, in terms of the NHS handling this situation, that's never been put under any serious stress, any more than the NHS is already stressed, being full to the gunnels with people who are sick and unwell in the UK because of, not in small measure, because of the advice given to the UK public by the UK government around how they should live, how they should eat and stuff. It's their fault in the first place. So,
absolutely.
There you go.
I mean, they built a big hospital in Glasgow, and they basically spent millions and millions of pounds in that hospital, and it's never been used. That was basically just as a sidestep, because they expected the NHS hospitals to be basically overrun. So they built this big multi-million-pound hospital in Glasgow. It's been sitting there. It's never been touched.
Yeah. So there you go.
The money could have went elsewhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's kind of where I'm at. That is the reason for me pulling the pin on my YouTube offerings and my relationship with YouTube. Basically, the too long didn't listen version is, for the last year, they've been crushing down my channel, crushing down my ability to earn any money from it, crushing down my ability to get my message out there and to become more notable as a online personality. They have been actively running interference. They have been actively destroying my business. Last week, they made two decisions which were both absolutely unacceptable under any circumstances, one of which will land them in a courtroom very, very soon by the sounds of things. The other one is a policy decision that they have made, which is legal, but nonetheless fundamentally unacceptable, morally, ethically, in any reasonable society anywhere in the world. And that is, you cannot, as a platform, take the position of editor and censor. You cannot presume yourself to be the arbiters of truth, justice in the American way or anything else, the British way or whoever's way. You cannot take a position on these issues. And if you do, what happens is you are now basically interfering with people's absolute right to have an opinion on matters that are debatable. And that's not okay with 90-something% of people in the world. So as a result, companies like Google/YouTube, because that's the same company, by the way, for people that don't know why I'm saying that, companies that want to behave this way deserve what they're going to be getting. And what they're getting now is mass exodus. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of channels that are abandoning the YouTube platform and going elsewhere, despite the technical difficulties, because nobody else is set up technically as well as YouTube and able to deliver the material to people when they press play at the stage.
Yeah.
But people are taking that on the nose and saying, right, it's worth that to protect our right to think as we want to think, to speak as we want to speak within the law, and to get our message out there and to educate people as to how they're being hoodwinked and fooled and etc. by people that want to tell them carbon dioxide causes global warming, or that SARS-CoV-2 is a real and genuine threat to society right here and right now, when we must all cower under our beds, comply, muzzle ourselves, don't talk to anybody, don't walk the dog, you know.
Be a good global citizen.
Yeah, be a good global citizen, as Tristan put it, all that kind of stuff. Or any of this nonsense, or the vegans that want to tell us that, you know, the whole food plant-based diet's the way to go, that's how to be healthy, and, you know, get the fuck out of here. All of those things. And we have a right to push back against this narrative, or those narratives that are nonsensical, pseudoscientific claptrap of the highest order.
I think everybody should have their view out there. Basically, everybody should have their say. That's the way I look at it. Like, if you can have a vegan view, you can have a carnivore view, you can have a keto view, whatever. It's like, let's try and find the truth in between it, and let's try and do what's best for each individual person. That's what I say. Be vegan if you want to, be carnivore if you want to. If that works good for you, that's absolutely fine. Go ahead and do it. Yeah. But conversely, don't tell somebody else that they should do that. That's what I always say.
Exactly. And don't run around telling people you should eat 100 grams a day of sugar. Don't do that. That's a bad idea.
My only concern, I must admit, my only concern that I always worried about, like, obviously the carnivore diet, was basically for carbohydrates for exercise, because I wanted to ask you this, because I know you'll know better than me, but I was taught through my nutrition course and things like that carbohydrates were essential for muscle protein synthesis, basically because when it's elevated, a protein called, I think it's REB, basically measures hormones with your glucose within the cell, which feeds into things like AMPK, which obviously AMPK is a switch on effect, basically, the glucose availability. So having adequate glucose basically availability improves your muscle protein synthesis. So I always worried about that type of thing, but I don't know where the kind of logic or where the science actually stands in that.
let me paint that picture for you very clearly, because that one's an easy one. What that is a walking, talking example. And I was taught the same thing, by the way, by my professors before, I actually.
I think it's kind of routine, actually, just the usual nonsense that you get.
Yeah. Now the reason that I was taught that, the reason you were taught that, is because that is a line, that is a narrative in academia that is bought and paid for by people with an interest in you eating carbohydrates.
Makes sense.
It's an example of a thing called reductionism. What is reductionism? Reductionism is, in science, the act of looking at a single cog and saying, therefore, we know how the gearbox works, having not seen any of the other cogs or considered how they interact with the cog that we've got here that we are looking at. Okay? It is absolutely scientifically true, everything you just said. Carbs are essential for all of those reasons. However, what that fails to address is the fact that your body is capable of manufacturing all the carbohydrates you require from non-carbohydrate sources of nutrition. It's called gluconeogenesis. The exact requirement for carbohydrates in the human diet is exactly none, exactly 0 grams per day, every day of your life. Not 1 gram ever, whether you are an exercise person or whether you are not. Your body generates all the carbohydrate you need for all purposes that it needs it at all times. Good. Easy. Ask me something hard, Tommy.
No, that was great. I mean, that's the one that everybody kind of throws at me. They obviously say you obviously need carbohydrates for exercise, and it was like I kind of knew the answer to myself. It was basically what you were saying, but I just wanted to come from somebody that was more qualified in that area themselves to obviously give that kind of the actual scientific fact on it.
So that's the answer. Yes, you do need carbohydrates for all those things, but you don't need to get it from your food because you make it yourself. Yeah.
There we go. That's the answer to that.
Yeah. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right. Cool. So do we have questions from the floor or whatever? I mean, I'm kind of done ranting about how YouTube sucks.
Yeah, anybody get any questions, fire them in there. If anybody has.
Awesome. Or is everybody dumbstruck?
I think they are. They don't know what to say.
Right. Well, in the meantime, if you are dumbstruck, go and find this link here, which is in the description of this video under Tommy's video. Click it and subscribe to my Fine channel on Odysee. Also, if you're not one of these people that's verified yourself as an Odysee user, that's verified your identity, then please do, because they'll give you, I think it's 15 library credits just for that, for free.
I've actually moved my channel over to library as well, and the real thing I really liked about it was basically they just transfer every single video that you've got straight over there. It was done in like a day.
Yeah. The only stipulation on that is you need to have 10,000 subscribers or more.
Right.
To qualify for that. The reason for that was because so many channels are going to YouTube. Actually, off your pop YouTube, we're done with you. Or at least we are syndicating, getting ready to be done with you, because we don't trust you, and rightly so. That the library system became a bit overwhelmed with transferring everything across, and so they had to say, well, I think it used to be 1,000 subs, now it's 10,000. That's only going to go up. So anyone that's kind of on that cusp is thinking about it, or should I go to library, get it done now, otherwise you'll have to manually do it, and that's not a good thing. James wants to know what I'm drinking. It's coffee. It's coffee with cream. Coffee with cream.
I know you're from Arkansas, James, but it's no whiskey, I promise you. Or bourbon, as you call it.
Yeah.
Gareth and Christine saying, is the court not going to cost you a fair bob?
No, I'll be after my costs as well as part of the damages. But as I say, my final decision on push the button, yes, lodge the suit, will be based on the advice I get from council at that time as to how they're feeling about whether they can win it or not. And I've also engaged the services of a legal beagle in the States who works on a no-win, no-fee basis. So obviously he's not going to proceed unless he's pretty confident that he can win it. So
there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
David Ryan saying, carbs, I need to maintain weight. Are they that bad?
In short, yes, they are.
The Randall effect, I think, if you maybe don't know about that, Ryan, but...
Yeah. I mean, I would challenge anyone that says I cannot maintain weight without eating carbs. I would challenge anyone that really genuinely feels that way to get hold of me for a private consultation, and I'll sort you out, because that's unless you are genetically different from every other human being on the planet, that's not correct. There is something going wrong that we'll be able to identify, find out what's going on, and sort it out. You can find links to my consultancy side of things on my various profiles on various social media, like face pages and all sorts of things. But in short, it is https://bit.ly/Bart-Kay. There you go. Click that and you'll be able to, what it will then ask you to do is join either my Patreon or my Subscribe Star system, and that gets you access to private consultancy. So I would suggest that. In short, the answer is yes, you absolutely can maintain weight without eating carbs.
I must admit, I actually feel better when I reduce carbs. When I get to about the kind of 100-gram level, that's when I seem to feel a lot better, because I seem to have a lot of joint issues when I got to anything above that. The gut issues kick in, basically everything that I had before when I was vegan, always a problem. So I always find that when I'm around about the 100 grams, I seem to do a lot better. But it's what works best for each person, I suppose.
There is some variability between individuals, and your medical history, how you've lived your life up to that point does come into play as well. If you have been a devotee of the Church of Anorexia Vegana, then that will have had an effect on your system, absolutely. If you have been severely undernourished, if you have been severely underweight, again, some carbohydrate may be not immediately as disastrous as it could be for others, sure. But nonetheless, you don't need them. Yeah.
Gordon's asking, why is the vegan dropout around 4 to 5 years? I hit the 4 years and have an uphill battle ever since. Low iron problems. It's taken me over a year to get that iron back up from animal sources.
Yeah, the reason that it's a sort of 4 to 5 year mark that people's health will absolutely catastrophically fall apart on a vegan diet is because that's how long it takes for your body to basically absolutely run out of resources. Your body is very adept at storing vitamins and minerals and things. You are genetically, you come from a position of being, your forebears were hunter-gatherer scavengers that did subsist for long periods of time under glacial conditions with no access to food. And so fasting for weeks and months actually at a time from time to time is reasonably normal in our genetic makeup. We are designed for that. And so overall, if you go on a diet that is completely deficient, as the vegan diet absolutely demonstrably is, that's where we get that really quite immense capacity to cope physiologically with that kind of self-abuse. So that's how long it takes. Some people get there more quickly. Some people's health falls apart before the 4 to 5 years. Some people claim, at least, to be able to go for 10 years and longer. Oh, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. What are you talking about? They say. I don't believe it for a second myself. I think those people are cheating. but
Cheegans.
there is some variability around that, but 4 to 5 years seems to be about the mean mark, about the average mark. And the reason I say that is because 84% of people who ever go vegan quit. They do that within 5 years, and they cite, well, 90% of those people cite catastrophic health failure as the reason. So there you go.
But you were never really vegan because you've got to die as vegan. So you were never really vegan, so don't talk about it.
That's right. That's right. You never really were. You did it wrong anyway. That's why you failed, and we're going to publicly name and shame you and point fingers at you and things.
John Venus is getting a good fair load of that at the moment. I think he actually probably made a bit of a blunder in his last video. He was actually talking about how 2020 he lost all his income and how he got it back. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you got it back because you went back to veganism.
Yeah.
but I mean, whatever.
Yeah. So how can you go from vegan to never really was vegan, did it wrong anyway, and then go back and say, now I'm vegan again? Well, hang on. We've already decided you never really were. So,
I mean, John's a great guy as well. I think he's just took a massive load of shit off him, basically. It was basically the vegans that actually got him sacked from his My Protein sponsorship in the first place. So the whole video was basically, he should have actually said that was the truth, because born again vegan, born again vegan.
Born again.
It's amazing how long the body can actually last as long as it does, some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think is there anybody get any other kind of messages or anything they want to actually answer? Is that us? Looks like it.
All right. Sound as a pound.
It's been good. Like I say, guys, if you's anybody that sees this after it, this is actually streaming on Facebook as well. So you'll find Bart's links down in the description below. Go and follow him over there as well. That would be really, really good.
Awesome. And we're going to have a chat in the next day or so, Tommy. We're going to have a chat about some exciting research. We're going to be talking about what we are finding out about adult stem cells and how they're involved in renewal and repair of your tissues and your body and your organs and stuff, and how they're a fountain of youth and what you can do to encourage them to do their thing.
Great. We'll get one question before we go. James is actually asking any good books you would recommend.
I've never really been a fan of books around nutrition, health, physiology, all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, what you're going to get from such a book is somebody's opinion, and many of those opinions are not mine, and therefore they are hate speech, as I've outlined earlier in the discussion. No, seriously, at the end of the day, I've always tried to educate myself with a critical reading of peer-reviewed literature, and as such, that has required me to actually look at the actual statistics underpinning the assertions in those papers and teach myself all about statistics, how statistics are done, what the mathematical procedures are, what the outcomes mean, what they don't mean. And so I would prefer people to come and ask me directly about a given paper. What do you make of this paper, etc. Of course, you'll have to pay me for that. It's my job. I'm not going to do it for free, of course. But yeah, I'm not much of one for saying to someone, here's a good book, because I'm yet to find a good one, literally. Okay. Who had blood tests?
Bo had blood tests done in June. Posted some glimpses of her blood test. I think she's talking about Freely. I think is that.
Yeah, I think that's what she's referring to. Yeah. The dog ate her homework.
That's the excuse I used to use when I was at school as well.
Maybe if you fed the dog some fucking meat, that's so hungry.
That's one thing I will say. Even when I was vegan, my dogs were never vegan. I was totally against that. Like I say, I believe that's animal abuse in its natural form. It's disgusting.
Yep, absolutely. Agreed. All right, Tommy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very, very much for
Welcome as always.
allowing me to air my laundry on your channel and to help people understand why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. Please do support me on Odysee. Please, do understand that the Odysee system is not yet as good as the YouTube system in terms of playing the video for you when you click it. We did speak earlier about what you can do to help, so please do those things. That would be very appreciated. And I'll see you tomorrow, Tommy, when we'll record a discussion about stem cells and stuff. All right.
Great. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
I'll just stay.
Yep.
I'll stay on for a couple of minutes and finish it off. But great speaking
All right,
to you again, Bart.
Good. All right. Cool. See you later, boys and girls.
So, guys, that was Bart Kay. Always a great chat. Like, I hope you took something away from that. I think these are really, really important. Like I say, I want to get as many people as I can on the channel, whether you're vegan, whether you're keto, whether you're carnivore, whatever lifestyle you follow. I want to actually get you on here and actually open a discussion, whether it's about Christianity even, whether it's about eating disorders, anything at all. I'm open to all kind of types of discussion. I think it's really, really important to open up the discussion and try and let people kind of get, basically make an informed choice and things and actually learn something. So I hope you took that something away for this. Thank you so much for joining in, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to speak to you soon. I'll probably try and do these probably every couple of weeks, I think. Again, I'll try and get back to doing that. It's been a long, long time, so it's been a bit of a feeling process. So thanks you to Bo, Deppy Redneck, James, Psycho Cat 90, Andy, everybody else that was in the chat. I hope I've not missed anybody out. But thank you all, guys. I hope you have a great, great day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones, and I'll speak to you all soon.